Sox fans. Welcome to Good Guys Talk Back, a local fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast, hosted by Nick Murawski and Pat Hester.
Hey, Sox fans! Welcome back to Good Guys Talk Back. It's because good guys wear black, and normally when you think of, wearing black, you think of funerals and wakes, and this has been one long wake, it feels like, as a Sox fan. So here we are, episode 284. I am Nick Murawski. This, of course, is a fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast. We do it every week live from our Good Guys Talk Back YouTube channel. I really appreciate it if you could subscribe, pass it along, set your notifications, like all those fun things you do with podcasts these days. We're on all the socials, all that good stuff. Lots to get to here in the week that was for our beloved Chicago White Sox. Breaking it all down with me, my best friend, diehard Sox fan, Pat Hester. Hello, sir.
Nick, I think it's harsh. I just happened to go on the ESPN app just to remind myself of what the record is at 30 and 95.
Sure, yeah.
And they now officially have and I know the Sox have been eliminated from playoff contention, but they're the only one with the little dash and the E in front of it. Just to remind people, if you were looking at standings and you didn't know, the Sox have officially been eliminated from playoff contention, which was a little bit sooner than I thought. And it reminded me of the wager that we made early on in the year. And we're both out of $10. So I wish I had that $10, but I don't. So this will be the absolute last sports bet that I ever make in my life.
You and I bet on this team to win the AL Central because
real American money, like not Comiskey cash, not Canadian money, not anything that you got from your grandma from the old country. This is real American dollars, hard-earned money from you and I, and the
odds were crazy at the time, and we went through my brother who had, I don't know, DraftKings or whatever, some apps that I can't have because I don't trust myself, and I said, put us down for the Sox winning the AL Central, $20, and his response was simply, "Do you know something that I don't know?" And I said, well, look,
do you know something I don't know?
Anything's possible. Look at the odds. We're just going to, the TW factor, they're going to be playing baseball the right way, fast, all this kind of stuff. Anything can happen. It's the AL Central, right? They're giving AL Central. So that is completely blown up, and it has for a long time. You mentioned the elimination thing, and it's a lonely little category there when you look at standings. Sox eliminated officially from playoff contention falls on the earliest calendar date, August 17th, in either the wild card or divisional era. So this is historical elimination. Not just that you were eliminated, but of all time. It's that's how bad it is. But you know that. Everybody that's listening, watching, you know that because you've been watching this product, and we'll try to get to some hope, John. We're going to try to get to a little bit of hope. I can't promise there'll be a lot of hope. There's going to be a lot of reality, I think, here once again. But Pat, I don't know. 30 and 95, 65 games under 500, 42 and a half games back, and that for giving AL Central, but they're eliminated. So what's the point, right? But it's fun to just keep talking about that number as it grows. Run diff of minus 256. So, Pat, there are 37 games left in the season, believe it or not. Now, the 1962 Mets, they only played 60 games. They were 40 and 120. Okay, so Sox need to win 11 to be removed from that 40 win marker. But the Sox have to go 13 and 24 to be 43 and 119 to not hit that 120 and at least tie the 1962 Mets. So in 37 games, Pat, you think they can win 13 games?
Well, so you're smart. You're better at math than I am. So they have to win 13 out of their how many games do they have remaining?
Yeah.
Okay. So what would that be in terms of a winning percentage? Do you know? Because right now their year-long winning percentage is 240. Is there any belief that
it's worse than their season-long winning percentage, I believe. And
okay,
and
so
Doug, I don't know if Dougie's in the chat right now, but Dougie from Chicago Sports Bums, he messaged me and said Vegas has got them at only winning 10 more games, 10 and a half games. So it's not looking good.
maybe that's the bet we should make. Maybe we should. I know I just said I'll never make another sports bet, but would be better off to put another $10 on that or no. Anyway,
That's not a bad idea. Yeah,
I guess it's possible. I mean, if it's not going outside of what they've done for the entire length of the year at a winning percentage of, which is hard to believe, 240. I suppose they could. It doesn't feel that way though, because it seems like they'll go about a week and a half in between wins, Nick, and there's not that many weeks left in the season. So when you look at it that way, it's like, holy Lord in heaven, I don't really. I don't know if you could go on the schedule. You know, you get the schedule at the beginning of the year and you start silly like, oh, that's a win. That's a win. Like, why would you do that in baseball? There's 6 months of this, but I don't see going through the schedule and going, well, this is a terrible team. We've got a chance to win 2 out of 3 there. When you're the worst team of all time, Nick, it's hard to kind of pencil in wins anywhere across the board. So I would say that this is probably going to end as the worst team in history. I don't see them winning the 10 games. I don't. Do you?
I don't. I do not. I think this will go down as the worst team in all of history. Again, this was a Pedro-led team, but their first month of the season, they only won 3 games. They were 3-22. Now, Grady Sizemore has collected a couple wins in his first full week. I think he was 2-5, something like that, 2-6. So that's pretty good pace, better than what Pedro was giving you. But I don't think, I don't know what else. There's your ray of hope. I just don't see getting 13 wins in the next 37 games. I don't. They're off to San Francisco, which those will be some late games. I mean, are you going to force yourself to stay up and watch some of those games in real time, West Coast games, and then Detroit? So you got San Francisco, then Detroit this coming week.
No, I mean, first of all, if you're staying up, I mean, if I had to stay up and watch West Coast baseball right now, the Chicago White Sox, I'm sure as hell be better getting paid for it. I mean, that's the only way that I'm staying up to watch these games is like somebody would better like give me some sort of a stipend or a commission check to watch these games. There's no reason to. I'll check in like I usually do in the morning. Like this is how it goes nowadays, Nick. I'll take the example of I think it was it the final game against the Yankees when they were up 2-1, I think, going into the 8th inning. And then I closed my eyes and went into a slumber. And then I woke up because I'm 43 years old at about 3 a.m. to go use the facilities. And then I checked my phone again to see that they lost 10-2. And I go, okay, that seems like it's par for the course. I thought maybe there's an opportunity to somehow, some way win a series against the Yankees. But that's how it'll be done. I'll wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning. I'll check the phone. Okay, they lost again. Back to Betty by time. That's how it goes right now.
Yeah, that Yankee series. Well, that was the energy. That first game, people lost their minds. Sox fans lost their minds that we put on a double-digit win. I think first time all season against the New York Yankees. Look at what Grady Sizemore's doing. This is a new look team. What's happening here? And then the second game, the series essentially was, hey, you're gonna catch games from people. The Sox haven't very often at all this year, but that's the plan, right? That's how the schedule's laid out. That you're supposed to catch a few games from teams. Teams are going to have off nights. But at the end of the day, it's the teams that are built, man, that are stacked. I mean, the Yankees lineup is what the Sox lineup should have been years ago, right? That murderer's row of Jimenez and Robert and Abreu and Moncada, and, Anderson's going to be hitting. And the list goes on, right, of what we were supposed to have. Well, the Yankees have that, and other teams have had that because they've built themselves that way, like mashers, power hitters, guys that can hit bombs like Aaron Judge put on a show, and Juan Soto. I'm sorry, that's going to overtake, the hustle and try hard guys right now. The TWTW stuff. Give me mashers. Give me guys that are just going to be hitting the cover off the ball, all season long. And, of course, that can stay healthy. And so, that's what the Yankee series felt like to me.
Yeah, and it's just like it quickly reminds you of the haves and the have-nots, right? In Major League Baseball, or in not just in baseball, but all sports. It's like when you have the chasm that exists between those ball clubs in terms of talent, it's like, holy cow! You look across the field and you go, that's really what that's what a major market team should look like, right? What we're playing with is like if we were a minor league team of some sort and we were taking buses between games, and you look across the field and you see a real team, chartered flights, caviar, champagne, and we're on like a beer budget over on our side of the field. So,
Major League, didn't in the movie with Charlie Sheen, and like they got relegated to just a bus.
Yeah.
There was no more plane for them, and the bus was shoddy, and that's what it feels like. It's just, different opportunities are being stripped away. We're just playing on that kind of shoestring budget in terms of resources and other things like that. And it shows, when people ask me, and I know they ask you, and everybody's being asked that's a Sox fan, hey, how is this happening? How is this really happening? And it's like, well, how much time do you have? It's kind of a complicated answer that, you need to unpack and peel some of the layers off, but it makes sense though. Like when you really deep dive, and it's kind of gross and disgusting, and it makes your stomach turn. And when you look at kind of the future and how it probably can happen all over again, it really is nauseating, but you get it. You see why the Sox are the way they are.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Nick. And I can say that money probably won't be spent. There won't be money to spend because somehow they're going to be slashing prices for season ticket holders, so you can get back in at a nice, comfy price. I see, Nick.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that the season ticket holders will have a 10% discount in 2025. And I'm wondering then, I guess if you're interested then in getting season tickets, that package will be, slashed. That'll be a 10% slash as a newcomer, I'm assuming. And Brooks Boyer went on this whole thing talking about, essentially, we know what the product has been, and we know almost what the product is going to be in 2025. So we're giving these 10% discounts. So that to me says a lot of different things. But first and foremost, we don't plan on making this team an exciting team to want to, go and watch. We don't have grand plans in the offseason. We don't think people are going to be really moved by what we do naturally. So we've got to entice people with this 10% discount. 10% is something, of course, but it's nowhere near enough for me to say, oh, wow, yeah, I want to invest in the 2025 White Sox. Yeah, what
would get you thinking, Nick?
40 to 50% off.
40 to 50. 30.
I would say 40 to 50 would get me seriously thinking. Sydney's got it in the comments here. And thank you, Sydney and Peyton and John and Andrew and Scott. So many folks joining us here on Sunday night. In your 125th anniversary, the 20th anniversary of the 05 World Series, but in your big 25, you're slashing season tickets because the product is so awful. I'm sorry, like that just 10% doesn't do much. When I invested in February of 2017, I invested after Sox Fest, and I said, you know what? I like the direction. I like what I heard during Sox Fest from Renteria, and they have a plan. It seems like they've got focus here and what they've done and what they still can do with some of the assets in 2017. I want to invest. I want to be a season ticket holder. I want to see this develop, and I think it is going to bear fruit at the end. I don't have that same feeling at all right now. And again, maybe something is in the off season, but I think they're telling you literally, like Boyer is like, it's not going to get much better than this. So we're slashing things. I don't have that feeling. I don't have that excitement, and maybe it's because of the failed previous rebuild, but I don't have that hope that I had years ago of I got to see this right now. I got to see this at the ground floor because I want to see what they've worked out, and this all these young prospects and all this talent, and I know that they're going to have money to spend, which obviously they had money, but it wasn't spent correctly at all. I don't have that. So this does nothing for me, but I'm sure there's people that, and to each their own, that they're in season ticket packages with other people, or it's just, this is what we love to do. This is the thing we do with our family. And if you're going to get 10% off for doing something I'm already going to do, that's great. But for me to get back into it, and I'm curious for people that, had no interest in season tickets, does the 10% discount really get your juices flowing?
I highly doubt it. I mean, I can't think of anybody that would be like new in the market for Sox tickets in terms of season ticket holders. I would be curious though, from a former season ticket holder as you are, I would imagine you still get emails a lot from the organization asking you to re-up or come back and things like that. And if you ever engage with them and say, I'm in for, give me 50% off, I'm back in.
I haven't. The only time I ever had a message of "We want you back, we miss you" was I received a postcard, I think in the fall, and I think I talked about it on the podcast, and it had my last name on a jersey with the number 24, and I don't even think there was any monetary enticement. There wasn't like a financial benefit. It was just, we want you back kind of thing. Like we haven't forgotten about you. Now, I have not received any emails or any phone calls from my old rep regarding coming back to season tickets. However, this past week, it's funny that you mentioned this, my ticket rep, who was a wonderful rep, I'm not going to say anything bad about this rep. Great rep. I feel bad for these people, actually, that, this is what they have to sell. I got a call and a voicemail from him asking me if I'd be interested in group outings for September. That was what that's what the voicemail. Now, maybe he had a different plan, and that was the voicemail that he left me, though. Group outings for September. I don't think I could find enough people to, make a group that would want to go during September to see the Sox. I'm sorry. Like, even if the Sox are somewhat palatable, once football hits, college and NFL, the Sox are further pushed in the corner than they already are. So you're telling me in this historically bad year, you're asking me if I'd be interested in group outings. Now, maybe he's asking me if I just wanted free tickets to group outings, but there's no way in hell I'm going to try to get people together to pay serious, like real money in September to go see the Sox.
Yeah, we're approaching and actually in the toughest time I think on the calendar for any fan of a baseball team that's well out of it. Even despite the even remove the fact that this is the worst team of all time. Anytime that you're rooting for a team that has no shot going into this time of year, it's like, especially if you're in our situations, right? We're working, you have kids and they're going back to school, you're getting back into a routine. It's a lot more difficult to navigate and find your way to get yourself to the ballpark because, okay, you're going for a night game. Well, we might have to leave early because we want to beat traffic because we live in the suburbs. And I know not everybody's like me and lives in the suburbs. I get that. But there are a lot of Sox fans that come in from the burbs and have families, and it's tough to go during the week. And then you look at the weekends, it's like, okay, well, we can do a Friday or Saturday night, but Sunday, even though they're day games, that's a whole day we're spending at the ballpark and we're fighting traffic coming back if the Bears are playing at the same time. And then we got a routine to get, it's a school night, all that stuff.
Weather's changing, the evening game. Yeah.
It's hard to find a way to get yourself to the ballpark during this time of year when your team's not in it. Now, I'll tell you what, my team's winning and they're going.
You find a way.
I'm taking kids out of school. I'm taking sick days. I don't care.
I'll remember
do whatever I got to do.
Back in 2012, so it was Robin Ventura's first year managing. Sox were in it a majority of the year, and they were in it even, I think, into the beginnings of September when the weather was turning. The Bears were playing. I think, against the Packers. It was a Monday night game, and it was in Green Bay, and the Sox were playing Detroit, and I had tickets, and my wife and I, it was exciting because we were right up against Detroit. Detroit was in first place. Like, we were able to shave some games off and get closer here to this division. And it was crummy weather. There was a drizzle going into the game, but like, that place was pretty packed, because there was excitement. There was that, hey, we're still in somewhat. And then obviously the wheels kind of fell off for the Sox, and they really lost their steam heading into September. But, with the hype around the Bears, and, it's only going to keep growing, with Hard Knocks and obviously what we saw the most recent preseason game. This is a Bears city to begin with. It always has been. It always will be, even when the Sox are competitive. It's just, sorry, once it's Bears season, it is, people are following the Chicago Bears with their heart and kind of checking in on the Sox if you still are interested in that. I don't see that. Like, it's just a turnoff at this point. It's all in on football, I would imagine, especially if the Bears, kick off if it's like a 2-0, 3-0 start to the season. It's like, what am I even doing following this White Sox team anymore?
It's true. It's 100% true. And right now, if you're a Bears fan, you're just drunk on a couple of fantastic, completions, and because you can see, what the excitement really was all about. If you didn't really follow Caleb Williams throughout his career, it's a different situation because, you have a number one pick, a rookie quarterback in a situation that is different than most. Usually you find yourself on an awful team that's in a 100% rebuild. The Bears are further along in their build process than a lot of other teams that get the number one pick are. So there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Chicago Bears fan, not only from the fact of what you actually do see, but the hope and the excitement around it. And it's football anyway. So I 100% get it. And I'm not going to apologize for being more excited about Bears football than I am Chicago White Sox baseball. I mean, we're on dead man walking time. Like, we're walking down the jail cell, right? And it's dead man walking, and we're just waiting to get to the chair. And honestly, I can't wait to get there and somebody to flip the switch and put me out of my misery at this point.
And we all could do it to ourselves. We could all just stop watching, but I found myself watching a bunch of White Sox baseball this past week. And
because of the Grady Sizemore effect, you wanted to see what Grady could do?
I'm curious, just to see how the team plays, so I can be kind of educated on it. as we do head into the off season and whatever managerial search they do and how the team responds to Grady. Monday's win against the Yankees in the season in the series opener, that was pretty exciting. Now the Sox also won the series opener against Houston, which again, the Sox have not won much of anything this past year, but they definitely don't win series openers. So for them to win a series opener against the Yankees and Houston, I thought that was a little different. Yeah. That was a little different. And then came the zero offense, and when they've got a pitcher that is on, which is always difficult, but they've seen Framber Valdez like a million times and just ate their lunch on Sunday, and he was on. He's a good pitcher, but the lack of offense, the inept offense, it's just the spurts. I don't see it. I don't see right now. It's early, but yes, the team looks like they're playing a little different, and Grady's a different look. He's got a different background. It's we all fall into that. It's that rebound phase.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in a relationship, and it's like you end a relationship and you jump right back into something, and it's like, this is great. This is it. This could be something. This really could be the one. Even if it's a job, you left a horrible jab and you jump right back into another job, and it's like, wow, there's the vending machine is amazing. The lighting in the lounge area, I could see myself being here for a while. And it's like, it's because it's immediate.
Keep that vending machine filled up to things I like. You put a sandwich in there, I'm out. You put a sandwich.
I was at a horrible job. Horrible. I don't even know why I took the job. A couple of friends of mine coaxed me into the job. And
do you care to disclose the job, or you were, for sake of privacy?
I'm not going to disclose the company's name, but it was,
they could be a potential sponsor someday. Is that why?
Right. Well, I thought about it for a minute, and here they are just smudging our name on a fan-centric Sox weekly podcast. I'm not going to be the first sponsor for these jackaloons. I was selling computer software out of the Sears Tower.
You were George Costanza. You were selling computers out of a garage.
Well, it was the software. It was the specific software.
Sorry, I keep interrupting. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it was, we got to work in the Sears Tower, whatever. I wasn't qualified for the job. A couple of my friends were like, hey, we need somebody. Those morons, they left 3 months after I took the job. They probably took their finder's fee and got the hell out of town, and they left me in this company. But they had a great, kind of snack lounge situation. They stocked it with some really great snacks. You have whatever you want. And they had a whole fridge of pop. Like, you could just be grabbing cans of pop all day long, bottles of water, whatever. It was really nice. It was a nice perk. So, I thought I was going to last there for a while, and I didn't. So I fell out of that honeymoon phase. I think we're kind of in that Grady Sizemore honeymoon phase right now. So it's kind of tough to really tell, but, I hope they don't really give him a serious look.
Can you, fairly or unfairly, I don't know. Well, I don't know how to even phrase this, but can you judge him at all after, with what he's going to do over the next, several weeks? Because I don't know. You're going to look at the record, and the record is going to be awful still. But can you really sit back and go, wow, I saw enough from Grady to really consider him to be a manager with zero experience up until this point? Even if he did well, can you really go, that was enough to convince me to say that this guy should be pulling the strings for the next, it would probably be at least 2 years, probably or 3 years, right?
So that's a great question, Pat. And I would say in an organization that's not the Chicago White Sox, probably not. I probably would say, thank you for your service. They might say there's something here with this guy. And maybe through conversations with players, during an exit interview type of thing at the end of the season, they might want to keep Sizemore around in some capacity. He had some sort of impact. We like some of the things he was saying, but he's green. he needs some time. He knows he needs time. And we're going to go with somebody that has got an actual resume. For the White Sox, I look at some of the decisions that they've made with managers, and go back to, I was mentioning Ventura in 2012. How did he come about being a White Sox manager? During the 2011 season, I think he got brought on as like some scout or an assistant scout, like behind the scenes, and Ozzie leaves and he's hired like out of nowhere. Never was a coach after his playing days, wasn't a third base coach, didn't spend any other time in a uniform, and he's the manager. And he stuck around for a while.
Yeah.
So I hate to say, and again, it's a different regime right now, but it's the same owner. And what do we always say? So crazier things have happened with this team, and how they've operated with managers. So I could see them maybe thinking, oh, well, the players like him. He gets along with Jerry. Jerry really likes him. Getz has got a good relationship. He's young, so he's not going to try to rock the boat. He's just lucky to be here. We don't know what the hell we're doing with this team. So yeah, we'll go with him for 3 years. He's going to be in go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if it was if you did as an organization, you go, oh, man, there's a lot of potential here with Grady Sizemore, but he's not at the point we need him to be at to be what we need for this organization right now. And what this organization needs right now is somebody to be a really strong presence to bring along and develop a lot of players that we're going to have come up that we hope are going to be part of our future. Grady can be part of our future, but we need to put him down in one of the lower systems and develop as a coach and a manager, and then bring him along so we can get the best out of him. To me, that would be the smart thing if you really like a Grady Sizemore, because I don't think 6 weeks of doing something that you've never done before is really going to be, what this organization really needs for the benefit for the long term. Does that make sense? I think it would be the best for them if they really liked him, and it'd be the best for him if he really wants to do this, right?
It makes 100% sense. And I think there's been a lot of shortcomings of the Chicago White Sox over the last several years. Lack of development has been huge. They've just not been able to develop players. I would say even identifying talent, which we'll get to in a little bit as we bring up the Field of Dreams anniversary. But have the White Sox been able to develop coaches and set coaches up for success and find the right coaches for the right system, and how they move their coaches through the farm system and how they identify which coach is going to be able to handle the players or the type of team that we build. I don't think they've been able to do that. Yeah. So to your point, I think that would be a great idea, is like, we've got Sizemore in the system. He got a taste, but I think based on what we've known already about Sizemore and what we saw, this would be a good spot for him in this other, at this other level. But we've got eyes on him. We're going to set him up for success so he can develop, because we would like to have his knowledge at the big league level eventually. We think we expect big things from him.
And I wish I could remember the story exactly how it went, but I remember something similar happening to Ryan Sandberg. I think at one point Ryan Sandberg wanted to be a manager, and maybe it was the Phillies.
He was,
yeah, and then but it was the Phillies that put him down in the minors to kind of help him develop as a manager to get to the point where he wanted to be. So, and that's a Hall of Fame player in Ryan Sandberg, and then Grady Sizemore is no Hall of Fame player. I mean, not that you have to be a Hall of Famer to be a good manager, a good coach, but if it's good enough for somebody like Rhino, I think it's good enough for somebody like Grady. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. So, I would agree with that. And I mentioned this on the Future Sox podcast this past Tuesday, Hot Takes and Heaters with Danny Miller. There have been quotes that I have read, over the last week or so, as long as Grady's been around, that definitely sound like either they're taking a shot at Grifol or it's a completely different tone. And some of those quotes, those responses have been about the fact that Grady Sizemore wore a Major League Baseball uniform in game for several years. He's been in their shoes. He knows what they've been going through. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
100%.
And I think that's the difference maker with Grifol. Grifol never played at a major league level, and you could see the wheels starting to come off when he started throwing guys under the bus and thinking that different clubhouse speeches and so forth that were not player friendly. Grady might be taking a different approach because he played the game, and he's been like a buddy to these guys, I would imagine. Like, he hasn't been the taskmaster manager. He's been maybe somebody that they've been able to vent to, trusted in the organization. Now it might be a little different. It's like, now I'm your manager. So the boundaries are shifting a little bit. We were kind of buddy. Now, I've got some seniority. I don't know. Some of the early quotes were a little different, and maybe that's why Getz is talking about wanting someone in a uniform or whatever. But I wouldn't limit yourself and already decide on what you think you're going to do with your manager. Like, be open-minded. Uniform, no uniform, really try to cast a net here. But I keep going back mentally to the shame of it is I don't know if they know what to do with a great manager if they found one, or if someone interviewed for it, and just they stumbled on somebody that was in a system that they liked maybe, and they were like, you know what, I like everything you say. We have all those things in place. I don't know if the Sox would have all those things in place, Yeah. So there's a lot of. It's a tough question to answer, and thinking about it troubles me. So that's why I think sometimes they go from within, because you've already committed to this organization, like, we've got you already. So we might as well just continue.
Well, whichever way they end up going, and if they, again, shock me and I've got to wear a toupee because Grady Sizemore is the next manager of the Chicago White Sox, as long as they go through an actual interview process and they don't get to the end or get to the offseason and go, that's it, we've seen enough, this is our man, he's sitting right here, because Grady knows the organization, he's been here, we're on a fast track, and that's what we want. If that's ultimately who they go with, I can live with it, as long as they go through and they bring in other candidates. Because, again, and I've talked,
you don't want a Chris Getz situation,
right?
He just gets catapulted to, they remove the interim and he just becomes full-on manager because they have doubts on if they were to bring somebody else in, they would need all this time to get caught up to speed. Yeah, I get that.
Right.
Sure.
And at least, again, it's get the free information from people, right? It's probably not hard to figure out where your problems are when you've won only 30 games in a season so far, but at least hear it from the outside. Get ideas, hear what other people think about your organization and where maybe it could be better, and at least get information, get a little data collection time for yourself, and interview managers. As I don't know what the magic number is. There is no magic number. Interview 100 people. I don't know, but at least go on a real search and find people that want this job, that are at a level now where they can. This is a promotion for them. I don't really care. I don't know if about you. I don't know what your criteria is, Nick. It doesn't necessarily have to be a somebody that's managed for 20 or 30 or whatever how many years it would be. As long as it's like, okay, this guy we've identified in this organization who's been a bench coach for a couple of years. And again, I know I'm talking a lot about like maybe what Pedro was, but like the next up and comer. Pedro was not like the next up and coming guy. He was on nobody's radar. He wasn't even on the Royals' radar, and he was on their staff. Find the guy that you think is the next up and coming thing, that this is a promotion for them. They look at it and go, there's only 30 of these jobs. This is a great opportunity for me, and I can't wait to get started. That's the type of guy that I'm looking for. But that's just me. I don't care if he played in the league or he didn't play in the league. I could care less. If he's a knowledgeable baseball person that is high on a lot of people's radars, that's the kind of guy I want to talk to.
Yeah, I definitely I've got my qualifications are pretty wide. Not as narrow as what Chris mentioned in his statement last week or whenever it was. But I do value playing the game. I do value that they played the game at some level. In terms of being an actual MLB manager, I know there's some days where I talk myself into like, they have to have some sort of MLB managerial experience, even if it's for a year or two. And the other time I'm like, well, as long as they've been in the game and in a smart, successful organization, and that the White Sox are willing to make concessions and adapt to what this new manager wants to do. It's like, I want to manage. I like what you got going on, but there's a lot of things that need to change. If we're going to do it my way, and I could see the blind spots, I'm just telling you, I can see where your blind spots are. If we can make some changes here and you give me, the freedom to do that, I think we got a relationship here. Howard mentioned it in the chat, and you and I talked about it the last go around. Sandy Alomar Jr., did something get debunked about him of why he hasn't he just doesn't want to take a managerial job? I feel like with Francona stepping down, it just felt natural that he was going to go into the dugout for Cleveland and be their next manager. But he's a guy that has played for the White Sox a couple stints, a catcher, which usually great managers, been in Cleveland's organization forever, played with Cleveland. Cleveland seems to know what they're doing. And it's just been around the game. Am I missing something on that?
No, I mean, I haven't heard his name. And again, I'm not, privy to every ball club search when you're looking for a manager, but maybe it's just something he's not interested in. I don't know. Or
that's fair. Yeah.
Or maybe it's like a situation Pedro was in with Kansas City. It's like, we really don't think you're the right type of guy for this situation. If somebody else comes and knocking, feel free to go ahead and take that opportunity, because it's not going to be here. So I don't know, but I can't sit here and say I wouldn't want him. I don't know. I haven't heard. It's almost like one of those things where I really want to, as this goes on in the off season. And my hope is that there's a good handful, 8 to 10 people they interview. Maybe that's too many. Maybe it's not enough. I don't know, but 8 to 10 feels about right. If, when I'm hearing from a Jesse Rogers or a Jeff Passan or Tim Kirchin or other people that are around and in this league day in and day out, and those people say this would be a great hire, that's what I'm going to go with. Like, I hate to say it's got to be like the media people have to like them, but that's kind of where I'm going to be leaning towards. Like, it seems like that's the kind of the knowledge that I need. Like, I need to feel like a little bit.
You need a
safer
baseball lifer, somebody that's really invested in the game.
I need a buster only to come up to me and say, Pat, it's going to be okay because this person is going to be fantastic. Pat me on the shoulder and, give me a glass of water and send me off to bed. And then I'll be happy about it. Right. But it's not going to be, I don't want to be like blindsided, like, whoa, nobody saw this coming. And everybody's kind of scratching their heads over this hire. That's what I don't want to have happen.
Yeah, I get that. And I wonder if Buster Olney or Passan or Rosenthal, somebody that's been in the game for a long time and following it, would say, or even have that intel. I'm sure that a lot of them do, but they would say, so-and-so, the next manager, wow, great hire. You're really going to like this guy. On the surface of what this guy could do, okay, but when you factor in the possible limitations of the organization, that a Buster Olney might not know about, or a Passan might not know about, of, oh, they're not going to let them do all of this, or they're not going to be able to hire their own coaches, or, oh, I didn't quite know that the Sox didn't have all this analytical or all these other metric-based things going on. I didn't know they were as cutting edge. Oh, now that I'm hearing this, I might have to walk that back. On like as a solo, this person would be an outstanding manager, but I didn't realize they were going to be kind of set up for failure. You know what I mean? I need someone that like knows the Sox system and organization, if that's possible, and knows what they're getting into, and knows the person, the candidate, and like can marry those two in a perfect world and be like, hey, I know this person eats, sleeps, drinks baseball. They are a great up and coming manager. And in the type of world that the Sox are, it's going to be a great fit. They're just,
it's going to be a really interesting dynamic because, Tony's going to be in the ear of Jerry and with his, whatever his kind of opinion is going to be. And we're probably going to place a lot of the blame on Chris Getz if it doesn't work out, or when it doesn't work out, rather. And maybe it's not rightfully so all to be put on him, because I don't think that Chris he's just kind of a puppet, right, for what's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it's all going to be about whatever the consultant, because you can go to him whenever you want, according to Jerry. He's here. He's here. You can go talk to him. He's a great mind. It's going to be what Tony thinks. And is Tony La Russa really going to be, are we really going to continue to put our faith in him? I guess Jerry is. So I guess that's what we have to work with here.
I think in Seinfeld parlance, you'd call, Stan the caddy, Tony La Russa, and Jackie Childs is possibly the GM, and it's like, what's going on here? I thought I was making the call, and Kramer is Jerry Reinsdorf, and Kramer obviously in the TV show goes with Stan the caddy, in the famous O. Henry O.J. Simpson spoof episode, and it's like you're completely bypassing the GM. Who's supposed to be, which has happened before, of course, in manager, which assigned La Russa to the role. So it's interesting that he's in this consultant role, and he will play heavily in this. He absolutely will, whatever they write or not. Speaking of La Russa, Pat, he didn't manage this game as he was attending to some personal matters, but we had the Field of Dreams, the stalk-off anniversary this past week since the last time we talked, 3 years ago, which feels like a lifetime ago.
It does.
A lifetime ago. 3 years, one of the most exciting games I can remember, especially of the rebuild. The Lurie game, that the playoff game where he was a hero, and the Field of Dreams game. I guess you can throw in Giolito's performance in Oakland in that game, one of the 2020 playoffs. But I thinking so much about that 2021 team. Where are they now? All that kind of stuff. And I broke one of my rules of not following players after they leave the White Sox. And I've been tracking Jake Berger. And
you've been tracking him. Wow.
They had a tracker on him. I'm very aware of what he's doing,
You're
where
like
he's
crocodile
going.
hunter. You're just putting tracking devices on people. That's awesome.
I'm very aware. And based on the tracking devices, he is loving home runs. He is on an absolute warpath. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been doing. And thinking back to that trade and last year, and well, it's like, they're going to stick with Moncada. It looks like, you're going to part ways with Jake Berger, even though he very well could play your third baseman, and he's got the power. We know that. Seemed like a fan favorite, but we're going to stick with Moncada. And Moncada has played in 11 games this year, and there's a really good chance he's not going to play another game in 2024, and that'll be it for his White Sox career. Played 92 games in 2023 and 104 in 2022. And this is a bigger conversation. We gave, so much critique to Eloy Jimenez when he was traded away. And I got to tell you, Yohan Moncada, I think, will go down as just such a monumental, a Mount Rushmore of busts in White Sox for me, as long as I've been a fan. And you could put a lot in that. I'm not saying like he was lazy or like he just was a bust. You could chalk it up to a lot of different things, health, performance, whatever. He just was a bust. And man, I have these moments where I think about, the anniversary of the Field of Dreams game and just how things just tanked after that and how little we've seen in Moncada. And with the Burger trade and everything, it just really gets my blood boiling.
Yeah. And when you said 11 games, I was shocked to hear it was that many. I mean, I feel like this guy hasn't played all year. He basically hasn't. And I'm with you on the complete bus factor. And I think part of it has to do with, if you want to go back to what Jerry was talking about, we've got to police these guys in the offseason and hold them accountable to whatever the program was. I think he's one that he's is being talked to. It's like, listen, you're going off, you're doing God knows what during the offseason. He's known for kind of having his own thing and sounds like he likes to party a little bit, and maybe not taking care of his body because they paid him. It's like, you've already paid me. Listen, you gambled on me, you lost, I won. I'm going to do the things that way I continue to do it. And I'll be fine once I get to spring training. And every time he comes back, it's this hurts, that hurts, this nagging injury, can't run out things. And it's really sad because he turned himself in probably I won't say the best, but I'll say in the probably top 10 in baseball in terms of defensive third baseman. I mean, there's probably not more than 9 or 10 they're better than him in all in baseball in terms of defending the position. So he turned himself into a hell of a third baseman. He had the potential to be that left-handed power that we so dearly were lacking for so long. And he was a switch hitter. And you think about what he could have been, and he just never materialized. He just wasn't ever really available. And it's really sad. And you think about what you gave up to get him, and the top prospects type discussion, and what you got in return was it's just really empty. I'll say this: it's just an empty career with the Chicago White Sox, and an empty feeling when you think about all the hope that you put into him. I mean, hell, I don't know how many years in a row before the season starts, we do our prediction show, and I think at least 2 years in a row I predicted he would be the team MVP. Because I thought he was that important, just because of the fact of the switch hitting, the power that he could provide, the defense that he could be, kind of not just while he's great at the plate, but in the field, he's kind of a liability type of thing, like we've had in other positions, like namely right field. Listen, this guy could do it all, and he did nothing. So it's sad, but I'm kind of like, I'll almost like take a sigh of relief when he's gone, because it's like, I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah, it is so true. That's the sickening feeling, is you just are kind of happy we can just move on, but you realize we got nothing out of it. Whether it's Aloy or some of the arms that have gone recently, and I'm sure Robert, whenever he's traded and sent away, if that is seriously going to be the case in the winter meetings, but it's the I guess the idea that the White Sox as an organization are not going to pay to retain a superstar if they get to superstar status. Now, the talk was that Yoan Moncada and Eloy Jimenez and Robert, they were all going to get to superstar status, right? That they were the talk of the town. These are going to be the Cuban Mike Trout. We are just spoiled with riches here. So the Sox know that they don't do that. We are not going to pay them when they hit free agency and they're really good. We are not going to pay the mega bucks to retain them. So we have to give them money that they just can't turn down early, so we can show our fans we're investing in this, and we mean business, and we want to see this thing through. But you gave these players tons of money without them proving anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's no carrot.
Exactly. There was little incentive. And I'm not saying guys just flat out gave up because they got paid, but as a fan, you felt it. You kind of felt it at times.
100%. I mean, I'm to the point where I believe that is what happened with a lot of them. Now, the injuries are the injuries, but I don't think that they really kept themselves really in shape, in baseball shape, or prepared themselves properly to start the season ever, because they didn't have to. I don't think they felt like they just relied upon their natural God-given talent to let them get them to where they've it's gotten them this far, right? It's gotten them to the point where they're top prospects and dominating the minor league system and all that kind of stuff. But there's something that the great ones continue to do to keep their bodies right, continue to push themselves to get better. Again, it's hard to tell what a guy's desire and want to, and what is, the size of his heart type of situation. But you look at a guy like Moncada, and just on the surface, and maybe this is a little meatball of me, it just never looked like when you look at him, it's like that guy just doesn't have it. It just doesn't look like he has the desire, the love, the care to really put his stones on the table and say, I'm going to sacrifice everything for this team and push my body to the limits to make sure that I don't let the guy next to me down. It seemed to me like, oh, and then I'm going to be hurt, and maybe I should have done this in the off season. Maybe I should have stuck to the regimen, but that's behind me now. So I'll just rehab. I'll just continue. My whole career is rehab.
Yeah. Yeah. I am such a results oriented person, and I don't see the results. Like, the results weren't there. However way that happened, which, whether it's the attitude, the effort, the injuries, the preparedness in the offseason, probably a cocktail of all of that. The results just were, you did not do what we wanted you to do, what we needed you to do. So however way it happened, it's just a complete bust. Just one of those many situations that are just sad and that contribute to where we're at right now. So if you are thinking of this 10% maybe is going to entice you, you want to know a little bit more, which I think you should. I believe current season ticket holders might be pressed at like September 30th to be giving answers on if they're going to re-up, which I think is completely unfair. I might be wrong on that. You should have, as a fan, investing, especially financially, in your team, you should have an idea of what the path is. You should know who the manager is, who the coaches are going to be. You should have a better plan, and that sometimes goes into October or November before you're being, asked to re-up. Anyway, there was an article in the Sun Times this past week. I think it was Daryl Van Scoven. It could have been Rick Morrissey. And it felt very perpetual rebuild, so chew on some of this, I guess, when you're thinking about if that 10% is really for you. For all the pain and suffering the White Sox and their fans have endured through this record-setting season of defeat, not to mention the 101-loss 2023 season, the payoff, if there is one to be had, might not come anytime soon. Not next season, with the Sox rebuild still trying to find traction in its early stages. And who knows about 2026? There are too many uncertainties with the current roster and how minor league prospects will pan out to know for sure. This was Chris Getz. I wouldn't say we're too far off. It isn't going to be right now, Getz said recently regarding the spending timeline. There's a maturation to players in our minor league system. In our 40-man and 26-man roster, you need to figure out where your needs are, and those are still evolving. There is going to be a financial component to improving our major league club. The time is not right now, but I would say we're not too far off from being able to do that. And he goes on to give a very Rick Hahn type of response. So essentially,
did Rick leave like the notes in the desk, like the president does when he leaves? Like, he'll leave a note for the incumbent and hey, this is where the aliens are at. This is who killed JFK, just so you know. And this is the bomb codes. These are all the things that you need. And good luck to you.
Yeah. That seems like it was just left on a yellow legal pad, just tucked away in a drawer. Like, here are your responses when people start asking you about money and what to say. So I think that's but I do believe that's what's going to happen. The Sox are going to, like they did during the last rebuild, when they failed to really seriously invest and really put the finishing touches on the construction of the roster. They relied heavily on these youngsters, these can't miss prospects, the arms, the bats, whatever. Hey, look at what we have from international money, just from trades. Look what we have right now, and even some drafts. We don't need to go out and spend at the top of the free agency and spend goofy money. What's wrong with some of these organizations? These guys are going to hit. And we'll just fill in here. We'll get Yonder Alonso and John Jay. We'll fill in some things here and there, and it's going to go great. And I think that's what they're going to do again here. The Sox are going to wait to see what they have in Noah Schultz, maybe, and Colson Montgomery, and Adams, and maybe Brian Ramos. Some of these other guys that Caro, like, that are in the system, not too far off, before they maybe make big splashes monetarily.
Well, it'd be nice to kind of know where Chris is at in terms of a timeline, but I think he's going to play a lot of that very close to the chest. I don't think that there's going to be any kind of, well, this is a 3 to 5 year plan. I think it's going to be a lot of vague, like we're not far off. We're still in evaluation mode. All the lawyers speak that you just heard. Yep. And then I'll just kind of keep us wondering again. You're probably looking more towards like the people in the know to really give you an idea of how long this will be. And it just sucks, man. It just really does, because like this year is hard enough, and we look so forward to it, and there's going to come a time in January where we're doing a show and it's going to be, below 30 degrees outside. And we're going to be saying, man, we can't wait till get into summer, get ourselves out to the ballpark, get around our fellow White Sox fan brethren and enjoy a game. But this is probably where the end is going to be, right? We're going to be here, and I'll be talking about going to the chair and someone ending my life.
Yeah, it's right now we're in the shadow of the Chicago Bears. We're in a lot of uncertainty. We're chasing, records that no one wants to be chasing. And, you look at let's look at the 2003 Detroit Tigers. They lost 119 games. They were 43-119, which is essentially, I guess, where the Sox want to be. They don't want to hit that 120 mark. Well, they were 72-90 the following year, and then reached the World Series by 2006. So in 3 years' time, they were in the World Series. That was, of course, with Maglio Ordonez. That was that team. The Sox had a damn good team in 06. They won 90 games. And Detroit they had it all. They had it all came together for them. That's where you're going to have Getz and maybe others point to some of that stuff in the offseason, right? Bring up, some of these timelines that have worked out in teams' favor.
And that's fine. And I'm sure that, and again, I can't remember the entire roster, but that was a really good Tigers team.
It was a damn good team.
Tell me where the free agent acquisition of right field and a guy like Maglio Ordonez is coming from. Please tell me, because you're going to have to do something like that eventually. Yes, you're going to have guys that you're going to need to develop and bank on a lot of the minor league guys to get going a little bit faster, maybe accelerate their timelines. Maybe they show you something, maybe more guys, and maybe it's a higher hit rate than we've had in the past in terms of guys getting to the big show and producing sooner, all that kind of stuff. Whoever the next manager is, better at developing guys on the fly, whatever that is. But you're still going to, at some point, fill in the gaps with, and not just these middle of the road free agents, like 26 guy on your roster type free agents. You're going to have to buy at least, maybe not at the top shelf, Nick, but maybe at the tier below. In terms of, because Ordonez was a fan. I love Mags.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I wouldn't say that he was top of the shelf, best player in the league or anything like that.
No.
It wasn't like, it's not like he was Bryce Harper when Harper was available, or Machado.
But he was good for that team. He
was good for that team, and he was he was an all-star. Like, we need an all-star player, right? Yeah. At least. So at some point you're going to have to say maybe at some point we should address right field. And maybe at that point you go out and get one of the best available that you can. And you might have to overpay, God forbid, but you shouldn't. Your payroll should not be that high with the youth that's on this team. But I digress. I don't see them getting to the World Series in 3 years. Let's not bet on that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If that is a tempting bet, I will remember what you said. Yeah, I don't see it either, just because of the way the White Sox under Jerry Reinsdorf operate. So. That's something to think about, when you have to make decisions. To each their own, man. It does. Knowing the discounts, knowing what's ahead, it doesn't do anything for me. I need to see some serious investments. I need to see serious changes. And the managerial question mark is pretty big. So you got San Francisco up next, then Detroit, Jonathan Cannon on the hill on Monday. And then Davis Martin, and then Crochet. So no more Pedro Grifol quote of the week. I am going to give you a Grady Sizemore quote of the week. I thought it was kind of interesting, and it plays into kind of just, what he is striving for, and maybe, I don't know, what Chris Getz and others are looking at. So this was Sizemore earlier this week. I don't know if I'll ever manage again, so I'm going to manage like it's the World Series. I don't really care about anything else. I just care about the guys and having fun and putting them in a position where they're competing and having fun and playing good baseball. Quote. So that to me just sounds like a guy that's just out there, just for shits and giggles, and, whatever happens, happens. They decided they wanted me to
actually say that. I wish he'd actually come out and go, I'm just here for shits and giggles, guys. I don't really care. Come on, let's have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think he gets it. He's like, I'm not really a man. Really? You wanted me. I'm not really a manager. This may never happen again. So, we're just going to have some fun. I got nothing to lose. I'm playing with house money right now. So, let's ride.
Oh, good Lord. I love it. And who would, if you would have thought, if I could take you back in time at some point, Nick, and tell you that on August 18th, you're going to have a Grady Sizemore quote of the week, you'd have probably told me I was a crazy person, but here we are.
Yeah. And when I saw his name mentioned in the yearbook, in the 2024 publication yearbook, it was just MLB manager or MLB coach. That was his distinction. Everybody's got a specific job title. He had his photo and it said MLB coach. Mm-hmm. So I was like, no, this guy's just going to kind of sit around and learn a little bit, maybe help out. There's no way he's going to be a manager at some point. So, okay, that's where we are. That sums up really 2024 for the White Sox. So
there we go.
Yep. Want to thank everybody so very much joining us on Sunday night, giving us your time, jumping in the chat, some great stuff. Hopefully this was therapeutic, rubbing shoulders with other Sox fans from a distance. You could subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join us live every Sunday night at 9:15. The audio available absolutely everywhere. We're on Twitter X at Good Guys TV. We've got a Facebook fan page. Pat, a pleasure, buddy. Really enjoyed talking with you once again, my friend.
Yeah, let's do it again next week, and maybe we'll have another win to talk about.
That would be nice. A one whole win, chopping that up. That would be outstanding. Good stuff, buddy. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us once again. For Pat Hester, I am Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.